Good morning and welcome to Ask the Expert. I'm Joe Taylor. This morning, another in the ongoing series of programs presented by the Northwest Regional Key Program for Quality Early Learning. The program, through the Northwest Institute of Research, oversees a grant from the Office of Child Development and Early Learning at the Pennsylvania Department of Human Services and the Department of Education. The goal of the program is to improve the outcomes for young children as they prepare for school. John Posa from the Pennsylvania Key is the host of the program and is with us throughout the series. Well, again, John, usually I say who's on the line, but I can see that we have some ladies in the studio. And who might they be?
Good morning, Joe. Absolutely. I am so pleased to welcome live and in person Shasta Wagner and Christina Baughman, who are both from Cambria County Child Development Corporation in Ebensburg, Pennsylvania. I work with these folks closely. They are involved in a community innovation zone project with the Johnstown Area School District. And both Christina and Shasta have worked with children for quite a number of years, and they serve on several committees. And in my previous work with Keystone Stars, Shasta has been partnering with me. She's a PQAS certified instructor, technical assistance person. So I wanted to welcome you both, Shasta and Chris, today to the program.
Thank you, John.
Now, just to preface what we're going to talk about today with you folks is the project. Just for those who may not be aware, my real job is I provide technical assistance to grantees in the northwestern part of the state who were recipients of a Keystone, actually Community Innovation Zone grant. They are organizations, many of them school districts, child care serving organizations that partner with school districts and other community agencies to do innovative projects, to basically work on early literacy projects, working with families to all in with the objective of preparing children for school and for success in not only in school but in life. Now, I'm going to ask whoever wants to give an overview of your project, Shasta or Christina. Tell me a little bit about the more specifics about your project that you're doing in the Johnstown School District.
Well, we are doing this project to reach the children pre-K to grade 3. And we are doing this by reaching parents and the parental engagement. It's a very exciting project. The grant has allowed us to hire a family support specialist to bridge that gap between family, school, and community. And we feel this is helping our children, this is helping our families, this is helping our schools all to reach the same goals. Many of our children need support. There are high levels of poverty in the Johnstown area. So we have a poverty training that we have done with our teachers, with our families, and this has helped with partnering with Goodwill Industries, who has come in and provided, it's called a Bridges Out of Poverty training. They have done this with all of those people, and now the families are also coming in and going to cohorts. Goodwill did a 14-week cohort with the families. They are still in contact with Goodwill, and now they are going through career counseling, and this is helping our children. This is helping our children because it's filtering down to them. It's building relationships not only with parents, but with students and with the schools.
It's so important because sometimes we forget the fact that even though we're in this business primarily to help children, but it's the family, the total family that needs the support. And sometimes the parents often do not have the skills themselves to work with their own children, to provide to prepare them for reading and literacy activities. And so it has to be an all-encompassing effort, not only with the children, but the parents together with the children. Isn't that so, Shasta?
Yes, and that's exactly what our family support specialist does. Is she really helps to build the relationships with the families. We've been really working with being able to offer opportunity to engage parents and the families in the children's not only their education, but in other areas as well. We find that a lot of times that families don't know where to go for resources, or they're not sure how to go about obtaining resources that their children need. And having that family support specialist is really critical in helping them get the resources that they need, contact area agencies. Some of them may even need help with they've just moved into the area and they don't know what resources are available. So our family support specialist has been instrumental in really making those connections and making sure that they have even just their basic needs met coming into the program.
Right. And for those who may not be familiar, the grantee in this Community Innovation Zone project is the Johnstown School District, but it's kind of being administered by Cambria County Child Development Corporation, which is based in Ebensburg. And for those who may not be familiar, because I know that your organization does a number of different programs, can you kind of sort of give an overview of all the things that you're involved with at the corporation?
Well, Cambria County Child Development Corporation is also the Child Care Information Services for Cambria County. We have, in our education department, we have 6 before and after school programs. We have the 2 preschools, Moxham and Morrell Neighborhood Schools, that we operate in a collaboration with Greater Johnstown School District. And then we have 3 early childhood programs in the county.
Right. Very successful organization.
Now you deal with areas that are considered high risk in terms of preschool learning. What exactly do you mean by high risk within the context of preschool learning? Is this just, is poverty the sole criterion, or what are we talking about here?
Typically, when you talk high risk, usually poverty level is the number one factor that pops up. Greater Johnstown School District, over 87% of the children receive free lunch. Actually, because of their poverty level, the whole school district receives free lunches. So it's poverty is a pretty much number one choice when you're looking at high risk, but you also Greater Johnstown has a very transient population, so a lot of people moving in to the city, out of the city, across the city. They're very transient and move around a lot, so it's a little bit of a different dynamic there.
And makes a lot of challenges, especially when you're trying to reach these families that are in most need. And one thing in terms of at risk, we mostly talk about socio-economic factors of children that live in low-income families. In terms of the free lunch program, I have to tell you that for those who may not be familiar, that there's a high percentage throughout northwestern Pennsylvania in our area. Most school districts do have a high percentage of those who are on free and reduced lunches. So even though we're talking with these folks about Johnstown, much of what we're talking about today is applicable to a lot of areas in the counties that we served. I want to mention that Shasta, of course, serves as the Director of Education and Christina as the Program Manager for Cambria County Child Development Corporation. Shasta works a lot with providing professional development, not only for helping the staff at her organization, but as a PQAS instructor, we call it PQAS, Pennsylvania Quality Assurance System instructor, for providing professional development for those pretty much in the northwestern part of the state who need continuing education hours as part of their work in early childhood. Tell me a little bit more about the role of Goodwill Industries in the project and how essential they are as a partner.
Well, Goodwill is very helpful. They are our partner. They provided the Bridges Out of Poverty training, but right now we are putting together a resource center. Initially, it was to be in the school, but Goodwill is located between the Moxham Neighborhood School and Eastside Elementary. So we decided that the resource center will be housed at Goodwill. It will be called the Trojan Resource Center, which is Johnstown's mascot. But this is where the families will go for resources. It will be an open house. There will be evening hours, early morning hours. So our resources will be housed there, but also there will be a career counselor there. There will be other opportunities. There will be a computer lab there. Parents and families can go and use this as they wish. So, and our family support specialist, as she is talking to families, is gathering the resources from all of the local organizations so that can all be housed there. So they're playing a very big part in this process.
You mentioned working with families. Mm-hmm. It would seem to me it would be a challenge to work with families where that family wasn't really pro-education, so to speak, weren't that supportive or didn't feel that education was that important. So how do you work with families where there is not a history of people being educated going beyond maybe even junior high school or high school? That's got to be a challenge, and how do you overcome that?
Well, Goodwill is also offering GED training and classes for that. So as the families are coming in, those specialists will be there and talking to families. And it's all about the importance of education and where it can lead them, how it can filter down to their children, how they can mentor their children with this. So it's just a mentoring effect, and we're hoping to reach the families and go from there.
One of the things I wanted to mention as we talk about the Community Innovation Zone projects, and we'll have additional guests down the road, grantees talking about their individual projects that they're working on. But part of it is that the program has to fit along with what's called we call it P-to-3 continuum. So even though we're talking about providing assistance for preschoolers, we're actually talking about providing assistance from birth, prenatal, even before the child is born, supporting those parents, getting the support they need to prepare their kids for a preschool environment so that they're then ready for school. But then once they're in school, it's working very closely with the school districts and working with communities so that there is a continuum of expectations known between the organizations that are serving the children, that are transitioning the children to school, so that we know what the expectations are as they go through kindergarten, first, second, and third grade. So there's an expectation there. And of course, the reason a lot of people may be asking, well, why just P through 3? What about after 3? Well, we do that because in our business, which is the early grades, we know that if you haven't reached children and if you haven't gotten the supports they need at the early stages of their upbringing, that if they haven't gotten it by the time they're done through third grade, that's when the real challenges start. That's when we start seeing the impacts of those kids who have not had the supports, is after third grade. So sort of like the middle elementary school years. Isn't that correct? I mean, you guys know you track children and you work with children in your community, and you see the difference with the work that you're doing.
Oh, most definitely. And a child's whole attitude is shaped by the time that they're in school. So if we can get to the children early to create a positive attitude towards education and everything that's involved in their life, the more successful they'll be.
Right. As
future adults.
Exactly. And I want to throw in also the supports, because they are so much a part of working with, and not necessarily a partner in this specific grant, but with a lot of the work that you guys do at Cambria County Child Development, the universities, specifically St. Francis and Mount Aloysius. These are schools that have programs in early childhood, and they have been real supporters. Of course, Chris worked many years at St. Francis, and so she can speak very, very keenly on that area.
Yes, I worked at St. Francis for 20 years in their education, and they've contacted me actually, and what we are working out with them right now is their students would like to come into our programs and learn, and when we can help them, they can help us. So we are putting on there, they call it a student portal, and we'll put on there jobs that they can do or what we need help in. And eventually what we'd like to do is have them obtain credits from this, because it's going to be a win-win on both sides. So we're very fortunate, and we've also contacted Mount Aloysius about this. And some of it's even community service work. They come to our programs and they're doing community service work, but in the long run, they're really learning how to work with these families and children.
Absolutely. And for those who are maybe geographically challenged, who may not be aware, St. Francis University, excellent private Catholic institution, is in Loretto, Pennsylvania, which is right next to Evansburg, very easy to get to. And Crescent is the home of Mount Aloysius, which is also close to Evansburg, but two great schools. And I love actually going down to your area, because I just think it's a really pretty area, especially Evansburg. And I like it going to the grotto at the university there. Beautiful campus.
Going back to the idea of an area being classified as high risk or at risk, within a given school district, how is that determined? Are we talking about geographical areas that are defined as being high risk? And if so, is there research going into the area to say, okay, this X number of square miles is high risk? Or are we talking about just individual families in a given area? Silence.
No, I'll just.
It's a very big question.
Yeah, I will preface this, Joe, and then they can chime in. In terms of high risk, generally speaking, whether we're talking with these folks today or someone else, their organizations are focused on a particular geographic area that they serve. So the demographics, the information is there to know where the high risk pockets are. It's not only by county, but you can pretty much identify by individual school districts. So there's information on families, which school districts they live in, the challenges that are within the individual school district themselves. Of course, Cambria County Child Development Corporation works with all school districts within Cambria County as a whole. This particular project, because of the need and because of their proposal for this grant, specifically is on the Johnstown School District. Johnstown as a community is a very challenged in so many ways, economically, the socio-economic part of the family, crime, things of that nature. So, that's an area where there probably should be a focus on programs to help families. So that's why wherever we know probably the highest needs are in the county are where the majority of our resources should be going to, correct?
Yes, and there are a lot of positive movements going on in Johnstown right now, there's a lot of focus there. We have coalitions going on, that we have a Walk for Peace coming up. We have lights under the stadium. What are we calling it?
Yeah.
Trojan Night Light.
Trojan Night under the lights at the stadium. We have Kids Affair. There are so many really great things going on, and everybody's just jumping right into the movement and it's, not just education, but we're looking at, drug awareness and, safety. Even we're looking at basic safety, so there's a lot going on in around Johnstown.
I think what you often find, Joe, and of course I'm speaking to the choir here, is that I myself grew up in a town, Oil City, who's going through some tough times, and we have some challenging issues economically in my hometown. But what you find is, there's so many grassroots efforts that take place, people that are so dedicated to their hometowns and will do anything to get involved in various projects to help the community. And that's involving families as well. And it's amazing sometimes what you see, despite the many, many challenges in some of these towns, and it's not just centering on any one particular, community. I mean, we have a lot of these issues throughout most of Northwest Pennsylvania, but it's the dedication of families in the efforts to make things better for their children and their children's children that really makes you inspired.
You mentioned earlier a transient population. So how do you reach out to these parents, these people that you would like to get involved in the education, especially the early childhood education of their kids? How do you reach out to them? Through the media or otherwise, or you go knock on doors? How do you do it?
This is really, Shasta and I, we just did this. We just had enrollment for next year for our pre-K classes, and we literally drove around to every area in Johnstown, posted flyers. We contacted bus stations. We've contacted everyone that we could possibly think of. It went on social media. It went on billboards. We just tried every single avenue that we could use, because people don't know. If you're not from around the area and you're just coming in, you really don't know what is available. I mean, we actually walked into a busing station and we were putting posters up, and people were coming over to us saying, I have a 4-year-old. So we were actually making contact that way. So we're just out there all the time. In the local people, they're great. Like John just said, if you're from the area, you've been there for years, you love your community, you still love your community, and you're going to help any way you can. And they really did help us with this also. The
power of social media and the internet is just amazing in reaching people. And even though in tough socioeconomic times with families who don't have a lot, social media, they are savvy. I mean, most people are savvy to it, and that's how a lot of folks get their information. And the beauty of this program, Joe, as I'm preaching to the choir here, is that, even if you don't hear this program when it's actually broadcast, the program is downloaded. You can hear it on the website, the Connect FM website. We then take the audio from it, and also we download it onto the Northwest Regional Key website. It's on the PA Promise for Children website. So the more people you can reach, radio today and lots of other media, how you use it in so many different formats is just a great way of reaching out to folks. And that's how a lot of people are getting their information these days. But I keep going back to, if you could make a difference with one person, one family, just like you mentioned in the bus station, someone coming up to you, and that person then will tell other people. Right. So it's just that kind of effect. So I wanted to just mention that your project is going to be continuing into next year. And and doing great things. And the fact that we're reaching more and more families, hard to reach families,
We're reaching more families, and we're reaching more resources. United Way has been talking with us about our project and are willing to help. So we're really reaching out, and we're really glad that you had us on the radio today, that we could share that with everybody.
Well, thank you so much. Our time is up. Shasta and Christina, so glad to have you on the program. Come back, and we'll be providing updates, of course, as we go along. But thank you again for being here.
Thank you.
And that's our program for today. We'll be back in 2 weeks at the same time. In the meantime, you can go online to learn more at papromiseforchildren.com. For John Posa and the Northwest Regional Key Program for Quality Early Learning, I'm Joe Taylor. Thank you for listening, and have a great day.